Welcome to Nevertheless, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you will discover how to discern your essence and live powerful.
Hello guys, welcome to Nevertheless, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. My name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. I'm grateful to God that I have life. This new month is January. January is over and it's already February, and like most people, I'm wondering what happened to my January. That said, I want to be grateful to God because my January, even though I don't know what I did with all of the time, I can assure you was fruitful. I wished I was able to do more, but the things I applied myself to intentionally did yield something. And for that, I want to say thank you to God. What is happening in your own part of town or your piece of the earth? How did you do? Are you feeling like the dog ate your January? Because that's how most of us or most people are feeling. They're feeling like, wow, a month is gone already, which means that 2017 is fast expiring on us. Which brings me to the question I always like to ask: what are you doing with your days? Because whatever you do on a daily basis would accumulate into what you do weekly and ultimately into months. And before we know what is happening, a whole year is gone. It is with that in mind that I'm reviewing the things that I have done in January and even before then. And based on that, I'm trying to make a few adjustments. Some of them that I'll be talking to you about today, and some of them that as they take shape, you know me, I'll come here and share with you. But before we go into today's subject or today's topic, I want to do a recap on what we did last week. Last week we talked about building confidence one act at a time. And what I was trying to push, and I do hope that you did, I actually hope that I was able to bring home for you, is the fact that God has called us to do great things. And sometimes, the things that you're called to do are so great that you feel like a chicken, just thinking about it. And last week I was saying that confidence does not come in one day. What happens is on a daily basis, we just step up and we continue to build our confidence until we get to the point that we're sure that we can stand. But I also remember that last week I told us that I cannot even claim that I'm confident enough for all the things that I'm called to do, but I'm willing to just continue to build on my confidence, one action after the other, until one act after the other, until I get to a place that I deliver on the destiny that I carry. So if you went through last week feeling like, I don't have enough confidence to do the things that I need to do, I need to remind you again that confidence does not drop from trees, and it's not sudden. It's a building up. It's when you do one thing yesterday or one thing you did yesterday, you did well. It's bound to build your confidence for tomorrow and then for the day after and the day after. So let me know how you fared when it comes to the confidence department. I really would love for you guys to talk back to me. It can feel like nothing is happening here if nobody talks back. However, I want to thank everyone who downloaded our shows in January. It was one of the highest download numbers we've had in all the 3 or so years that we've been putting out the Nevertheless show. So thank you so much if you downloaded, if you shared. I'm so grateful that you're helping us spread this joy and this love that we feel, and this dogged vision that we have, that every man ought to discover who he is in Christ so that he can live a powerful life. Please don't go away. When we come back, I want to talk to us today about trees. Yes, you heard me. Trees. TREE. Trees. What do you do with the trees in your life? And yes, I'm going to be speaking in parables when I talk about trees, but I will explain to you why I use the word tree so that you get to understand that I'm not trying to confuse you. It is still the Nevertheless show, and when I come back, I'll be talking to you about what to do with the trees in your life. Please don't go away. Hi, I'm Bidemi Mark-Mordi. Many years ago, someone told me, Bidemi, you have a purpose here on earth. And this was at a time when my life was hovering on the verge of breaking because I was constantly and persistently depressed. That statement sent me on a journey to discover who I really am. I discovered that I'm a helper of destinies. What are you good for? Have you ever wondered what separates successful people from average and mediocre people? The one thing I have discovered is purpose. That is why after years of fear and living under depression and depressive thoughts, I chose purpose, and today I live powerful. You want to live powerful too? Then join me on Purpose University, a home for you who want a life beyond the ordinary. To be the best you is what we're about. Welcome. This ride will change your life. Welcome back, and thanks for hanging with me. My name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi, and this is the Nevertheless show, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. To be able to tell you what I want to talk to you about today, or to be able to fully explain to you what it is that I want to talk about today, I have to tell you a story. And I want to tell you two stories actually. I'll tell you one now, has nothing to do with me, and then I'll tell you one that has everything to do with me. In Judges chapter 11, there's a story of a man called Jephthah. Jephthah, as the story goes, was an illegitimate child. What that means is his father never really married his mother, but they had this child together. We call that illegitimate, but most of the times other people call him a love child. I'm sure to his mother and his father, he probably was a love child. But to everyone else around, he was an illegitimate child. So Jephthah's mother was not in the picture. And over time, as he grew, even though he was the oldest of the sons, from what I gather, his father died. And after his father died, the community gathered and said illegitimate children do not inherit. Because of that, they cast Jephthah out of town. And so Jephthah, who had lived, even though his father didn't marry his mother, but had lived in his father's house through his lifetime, had come to the point when his father passed, and he was told point blank that he was illegitimate, and because of that, he will not be inheriting anything that belonged to his father. And so the Bible says Jephthah left, and he began to lead a band of vagabond men. So Jephthah had to go and find his way. He had to make life for himself. And as Jephthah continued to make life for himself, he continued to grow. He trained as a mercenary, and he was able to fight battles for people, and they would pay him. Before we knew what was happening, the one that was rejected had carved a niche for himself, and he was doing well. However, the nation of Israel wasn't doing as well, because the nation of Israel had a law in their military, and surrounding nations were coming to plunder them, and everyone was looking for help. Eventually it came to the knowledge of the leaders of Israel at the point, or the elders of Israel at the point, that Jephthah was a man, he was a skilled soldier, and he had a band of soldiers with him. So they approached Jephthah and said to him he should come and fight their battles for them. And Jephthah made up his mind that this was his day, the day when he would get whatever he wanted to get back. To cut a long story short, Jephthah negotiated with them, And he told them that if he went to battle on their behalf and he won the battle, when he came back, he wanted to be made a judge in Israel. I mean, when you are negotiating and you have the upper hand, So obviously Jephthah had the upper hand. And because of that, the people of Israel agreed and he went off to battle. But there was something that Jephthah did before he went to battle. He made a vow before God. He said to the Lord God Almighty, he said, whatever comes out of my house first, when I come back from battle, if I win this battle, whatever comes back out of my house first, that I will sacrifice to you. And you know what it is like to make a vow such as that. Jephthah went off to war and God helped him. They won the battle and they came back home with the spoils. However, Jephthah had only one daughter. And on the day that he returned home, unfortunately for him, the first thing that came out of his doors was his daughter, who apparently had missed him and heard that he was in town and ran out of the house to go and welcome his father. So what was a very victorious day for Jephthah that day became a really sad day. All of a sudden, Jephthah realized the enormity of the vow that he had made. Because if he said, I will sacrifice whatever comes out of my house to you, then and his daughter is the first thing that came out of the house, then automatically Jephthah is bound to oblige, or at least to follow through on his vow. So Jephthah wept, called his daughter and explained to her what he had vowed. And the Bible records that his daughter said, well, if that is what your vow is, then just allow me to spend time with my friends and you can do whatever it is you want with me. Our topic today is do not cut down a productive tree. So if you take a look at it, Jephthah, in a bid to, win a battle or prove a point, has found himself in a place where the most productive thing he owned was going to be cut down because he made what some of us might call a very rash vow. I'll come back to tell you how that story ended. Please don't go away. This is still the Nevertheless Show.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life's just simple. Don't worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless from a bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com to place your order now. I guarantee you will make it nevertheless.
Welcome back. It's still Bidemi Mark-Mordi and the show is Nevertheless. Today we're talking about not cutting down productive trees. This week, as the month of January was coming to an end, a few of my team members came to spend time with me and review with me what we've done so far and what we will be doing going forward. And when they showed up, we started to talk. We started by reviewing the many things that we do under the umbrella of Bidemi Mark-Mordi and Verbatim Communications. And I tell you, I don't understand. I can't tell you that I know how we do it, but we do quite a number of things. And as we went on and on and on with that conversation, we got to the point when one of them said to me, she said, Ma, this is a lot you're doing. How about we cut down some of them? And because I was already feeling overwhelmed with the fact that, Mondays through Friday, I only get the opportunity to go to work once a day. Go to the office so that I can get things done once a week, which means that all the administrative things that I'm probably doing at work, all the things, casting vision and making sure that people run with the assignments that I'm supposed to do on a weekly basis, I've not been able to do it. In all of January, I went to the office 4 times. and I was already feeling overwhelmed and irresponsible. But the thing is, I wasn't at work not because I was taking time off partying. I wasn't at the office because I was in the field. I was doing some other thing, just as equally as important as what I could have been doing in the office, in the field. And so I sat there after they had gone, and I thought, and I said to myself, it makes sense. Maybe I need to shut some things down. But here's the thing. A few days before that meeting, actually 24 hours before that meeting, I had another meeting where the instruction was to add something else to my plate. So to now sit here and say, I want to cut out something, I already knew that it would be counterproductive, because if I take something out, something else will come in. But I was even willing to take something out because honestly, I'm one person and sometimes you just get overwhelmed. And this is not that I lack focus. This is that every single thing that I do is important. They are connected, but they still require attention at different times. So I went to bed that night feeling almost like a failure, because I was just saying to myself, there's so much you need to do. There's so little you can do as an individual. You know how we go when your confidence is poked at. So I went to bed, but I remember that I dreamt. I went to bed and I had a dream. And in that dream, it felt to me like the Lord was saying to me, take a look at the tree that you want to cut. So the trees, it looked like all the things that I do were lined in front of me as trees. And as I took a look at the trees, I was looking at them from the bottom, because if you want to cut a tree, that's where you cut from. You want to cut it from the root so that it doesn't get to grow again. But the Lord had me look up to the branches of this tree. And I looked up and He asked me, what do you see? And as I looked at these branches, I saw fruit. Every single tree had fruit in its branches. And the Lord said to me, do you want to cut down a productive tree? And it dawned on me that while sometimes we can be feeling overwhelmed, it's not everything that you do that is a distraction. Because I must say it without sounding like I'm anything special, but I must say that I'm not a frivolous person. So if I had even put my energy in anything at all, it had to be something that was useful to other people's destinies. Otherwise, I don't dabble. But the only issue is every time I start something, it gets to expand and then branch out and stuff like that. And all these things still require my attention. So because of that, I was seated and I was looking at my trees, and most of them just looked like something I should cut. The only problem is that they all had fruits in their branches. So when I heard the Lord say, how do you cut down a fruitful tree? I realized that I could not cut down a tree that was productive. So the question now became, if you will not cut down these trees, does it take away your overwhelm? No, the overwhelming feeling is still there. I still feel like I am tugged in all directions. I still feel like maybe if I could just focus on the one thing that I do. But the truth of the matter is that the one thing that I do is what has bred all of these many things. So I sat there and I was thinking, and what I learned from just that exercise of thinking through what I do is the big learning that I want you to take away from here today. Please don't go away. When I come back, we continue. So I'm back, and it's still the nevertheless show. So when I said to the Lord, no, I won't cut it down, He asked me, why would you not cut down a productive tree? And I had to say to him, I said, well, because the reason we plant trees is for fruit most of the time. So if a tree is bearing fruit, cutting it down, I'm not talking about pruning, I mean cutting it down, as in shutting it down. If I shut down a tree that I planted for fruit while it has started to produce fruit, then it better be that there's something bigger that I want to plant in that space. Otherwise, it will be counterproductive. And since I didn't have anything bigger, because from time I had thought it through and I had come to a conclusion what the bottom line for the things that I do would be. And since this particular tree that I'm looking to cut down contributes to the bottom line that I say my life is about, it would have become counterproductive if I cut it down. And it was in that conversation that it dawned on me that sometimes even when you are feeling overwhelmed, it's not everything that you take out. The things that you ought to take out are the things that distract you and don't contribute to your bottom line. If you have stuff that contribute to your bottom line, but they are taking too much out of you, then what you should be doing is take 2 steps back and find a way to resource that tree. Now, remember I said that this tree is already productive. What that means is that the tree is mature, the tree has been standing for a while. So, in reality, if I had trained a team properly, maybe I don't have to be looking at that tree again. So one of my big walkaways from that conversation with God and everything that happened is, one, you need competent people around you that can take a look at your tree and look after the tree for you. But you see, before you get there, what I've said to do is ascertain whether this tree is productive. Yes, so in my case, the tree is productive. Secondly, what your tree is producing, does it contribute to the bottom line? And my answer is yes. What my tree produces contributes to the bottom line. And because of that, I cannot cut it. So what I have resolved to do is ask myself, who else is excited by this tree? Is there anyone on my team who loves this tree? Who every time we get in the garden sits under this tree? Who every time there's a conversation about trees talks about this tree? Then if there is someone like that, it already means that that tree, that person has an affiliation in their DNA with that tree. Maybe what I ought to do is hand over that tree to them. A couple of weeks ago, someone actually just broke it down for me that what I do, if you want to take it to the Bible to find out what office I operate in, is the office of the apostle. One whose responsibility is to pioneer things, start them, make sure that it pulls eternity out of all the people, and then let them grow in those things. So maybe my biggest challenge or my biggest failing in all of this has been the fact that I pioneer things, but I don't know how to, I'm not deliberate or intentional enough to hand them to other people who can grow them. And the moment it dawned on me that that might be part of the challenge that I have, I wrote it down. Navigate, call people in. You have volunteers, you have team members, call them in and tell them, I want to relinquish some of these trees. Will you help me? And I'm glad to be able to say that as I record this, I've had that first meeting and I'm actually feeling like I'm lighter already because people have said, oh, I will chip in here, I will chip in there. So when your tree is productive but is overwhelming you, ask for help. I guess that's what I'm saying. Ask for help. Who can help you prune this tree? Who can help you tend it? Since it's already a very productive tree, it doesn't need much oiling anymore. So ask for help from other people. You also want to ask yourself, if this tree, if the fruit is not the only reason for which this tree, if this tree is not only providing fruit, what else can it provide? So for instance, a tree that has branches enough to be able to bear fruit may also be good for shade. So you may even not find someone who loves the fruit but likes the fact that the tree can give shade. My point is, open it up, be objective enough and be accommodating enough to let other people come and pitch in. what you're doing. So when your tree is bearing fruit, but you're feeling overwhelmed, what am I saying? I'm saying do not cut it down. Because as long as it was given to you, and you have nurtured it to the point that you've nurtured it to, and is bearing fruit, then peradventure, you can hand it over to someone. The other thing that I did, and I'm thinking to do, is to ascertain for yourself, who are the people who feed from this tree the most? Because if this tree has been feeding a group of people, amongst them may be someone who wants to run with that tree going forward. And so I'm at the stage when I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, who can I work with? I had a long conversation with one of my sisters called me 2 days ago to have a long conversation about things like this. And she was saying, how about we join forces and we do this? So sometimes also you may not 100% hand the tree to someone else, but it is possible that you find someone who is able to take 20%, 30%, 40% of the effort that you put in off of you. Another thing you can do, and John Maxwell talks about this a lot of times, is source it out. So for instance, why do I want to try to edit my show when I can pay someone, and by the grace of God, I can afford to pay someone to edit it? It takes a long time to do this editing. So what we do is we farm it out. We give it to someone else to do. And because that person, even from next month, is going to be really busy doing something else for me, I'm looking for someone else to give it to who can do it. Because here's the thing about when you are the one who is called to birth things, and you are trying to live a life of purpose. And if you try to live a life of purpose well, the tendency, or what usually happens, is it begins to expand and expand and expand. Ask for help. So there are parts of my tree where I need to put together a curriculum. So I'm asking for help. There are parts of my tree where, I need to exert physical energy to go to places to make arrangements. So I'm asking for an administrative person. The point is, it is overwhelming when you try to do it alone. Now, the reason maybe sometimes we don't give up our trees for other people to look after, to tend for us, maybe because we want to hang on to the glory by ourselves. You want it to be said, oh, Bidemi did this. Maybe, just maybe that's what the issue was with me. But I'm wise enough today to realize that I can farm it out. And they don't even need to mention my name. As long as it continues to produce fruit, it's fine. I'll be okay. Another reason why sometimes we don't farm out the things that are productive already is because maybe we don't trust the people around us. And I have found that part of the issue with not trusting the people around me to be able to deliver as excellently as I want may not all be their fault. It may be the fact that, for instance, through this month I've been there just 4 times. I have people who are new, who I have not been able to sit down with to give them a sense of direction, how they can get things done. So maybe I need to stop. I need to just stop for a while and just have everybody in the room and say, look, this is what we're trying to achieve. You tell me what you can contribute to what we're trying to achieve. And I tell you, I had one of those meetings today and would have another one on Monday. And it's already looking like these things can be done. Maybe another reason why you are not giving it out is because it yields maybe a return. And you're wondering, if I hand it to someone else, will they declare all of the returns? That's the point of systems and structures. So maybe before you farm it out to someone else, get into that place where you have conversations and you are very clear about what you expect to get back in return based on what it is that you have been doing. And more importantly, farming something out does not mean that you'd never go back to it. It just means that for this time that it is overwhelming for you, let others' shoulders come under the load so that you don't burn out and crash. So, your trees are very productive, but there are too many. Don't begin to cut without discrimination. Assess your trees properly. Ascertain if what they are producing is contributing to the bottom line. And then determine who else might be able to celebrate that tree and take care of it the way you have celebrated it and taken care of it. Now back to the story of Jephthah. What did Jephthah do? Jephthah was willing to give his daughter up, but God stepped in. And because our God sees the end of a thing from the beginning, even before Jephthah got in this position, God had said in the book of Leviticus that no Israelite will sacrifice their children as an offering to him. So when Jephthah made the rash vow, God knew that this was a productive tree that Jephthah wanted to cut. So instead of allowing Jephthah to cut this tree, they modified the outcome. So rather than the girl be slaughtered or be sacrificed, as an offering to God, what they did was they modified the vows so that Jephthah could send her daughter up to the hill country with her handmaidens who would look after her through her lifetime. Maybe she was never going to marry. I don't know what the details of that is. But the thing is, the girl did not lose her life, which automatically meant that Jephthah will probably be able to visit her, and she might be able to come down once in a year when there is a feast or something to spend time with her family. Imagine that God had followed Jephthah and that tree was cut down. It would have been that what was meant to give Jephthah joy, victory, and his installation as a judge in Israel would have also been the saddest day of his life when he lost his only daughter. So think about it again. Don't just cut trees because they are stressing you now. Ask yourself, how long will this happen? And if it is likely that very soon it will be over, don't cut. But even when you are not sure of when the stressing will stop, find someone else who has more energy, who is as excited about this vision as you are, and hand it over to them. Because as long as it is producing and is contributing to the bottom line, you don't want to go down in history as the one that shut it down. Believe me, I've had that experience and I know that it's not palatable. So that's our show for today. Please remember that if you need to talk to me, if you want to hit reset button in your life, if you want me to help make a difference with your life, then you can either send me a message on my Facebook page, bidemi.mark-Mordi.com, follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, or just simply go to my website and leave a comment, and I will be sure to get back to you. Till next time, and that's next week, when I will bring you another topic, hopefully as powerful and insightful as this. Remember that you cannot live a powerful life if you don't discover your purpose. Don't forget that every man, and that includes you, has a superpower. It just requires an embracing. So today, embrace your superpower and live powerful. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 0813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemi.mark-Mordi.com. Don't forget that when you discover your purpose, you will live powerful.